Three big what ifs for this upcoming season. Hey, I'm just going to throw it at you. Media Day's coming up this week. I'm just going to throw it right at you. High and inside. What if Oklahoma wins the SEC? Gasp, shock, outrage, nonsense, clickbait. Crazier things have happened. The over-under win total does not look impressive. 7.5. The odds to win the SEC, plus 2,700. The odds to make the playoff pretty long as well. But a lot of that, I think, is because of this schedule and how ridiculous it is. And their schedule sees them playing Tennessee at Auburn versus Texas and Dallas. They go to Ole Miss. They go to Missouri. They got Alabama. They go to LSU. Yeah, that's tough. If somehow they find their way through that and they end up making it to Atlanta, who do they face there? Georgia or Alabama or something like that. They win in Atlanta. That's one of the historic seasons in conference history, and they'd be brand new in the conference. It also means all these portal moves they made, like Deion Burks, for example, Dom Williams, all of those must have paid off. The offensive line must have been the biggest false red flag in the history of college football, or at least they worked miracles during the season. Are they the college football playoff favorite? If they were to make it through all that, certainly they're not now. And even if they're hot the first half of the year, you would view it as a serious overreaction if all of a sudden you say, well, are they the favorite to win the title? But if they made it through all that and they went to Atlanta and won, what is the playoff going to throw at them? You'd have an Ohio State or an Oregon out there, yeah, but no one will have done anything more impressive at that point than Brent Venables in Oklahoma. And that guy, Brent Venables, would be just like an instant perma legend, just a PL, not an L, a PL, if he were to do this. It's a long shot, and chances are this segment never sees the light of day again. However, as you guys know, we have to be smart and tactical around here, and this is what God made July for. Mima always told me, Joshua, God made July for fireworks and making really off-the-wall predictions that you can come back to in December and clip if they happen to be right. And if they don't, no one cares. It's a risk-free world we live in July. Now, here's one that's maybe more realistic. This could be a nightmare for me. You'll know when I read it to you. What if we do get a college football playoff Cinderella team? Now, why would that be bad news for you, Josh? Why? What's wrong with that? You got a problem with Cinderella? Yeah, in my past. I've had a checkered history with old Cinderella. What would this mean, though? What constitutes a college football playoff Cinderella? It's not just a team that makes it. Certainly, we've got to have a team go into at least the Final Four, if not the title game. Maybe you don't have to win it, but at least you've got to make a really, really deep run in the playoff. So is it a G5 team? We're going to have at least one in every year. Is it Memphis making it this year and maybe getting their first round bye, and then they draw a favorable round 2 matchup against a team that's banged up, and they happen to win that one 31-29, and then they go to the semifinal. They still got to win 2 more games. So yes, theoretically that could happen. Or are you just counting any lower seed? I love how we made the question up, but I'm asking someone else what this constitutes. Do you just consider Missouri as the 10 seed, making a run to the Final Four? Is that a Cinderella? I don't know if it feels like that. I think in NCAA like basketball tournament terms, if you were to have the equivalent of an 11 seed go all the way to the title game, well, yeah, that counts there. But see, in college football, it's different. In college football, it's not Oakland University. In college football, it's Tennessee with 2 losses, getting in as the 10 seed, and then just buzzsawing with Nico Iamaleava and half a dozen receivers better than some of these G5 teams that make it in. That's a Cinderella? If it is, yeah, we could see one pretty quickly. I don't know if I'd count it as that. But you know what the worst part of this would be for me. The worst part would be the expansionists who would be in full-off I told you so mode, not even realizing the point they're making is not contradicting the point any of us ever made. The point that I've always made in being against playoff expansion is not that one of these couldn't make a run. It's not that someone outside the top 4 maybe wasn't even capable of winning at all any given year. It's that I don't believe the bar should be that low. because I don't really care about tons of inclusion in the playoff. I'd rather it be exclusionary. I'd rather it be extremely hard to get into because I love the regular season. So I don't really feel like sacrificing all that just because I can throw 37 teams in the playoff, watch one of them, which is mathematically inevitable eventually, make a run and say, told you. Imagine what? Well, imagine what could have been in years past. Yes. It is a statistical certainty that if you rewound the college football clock and you expanded the field times 3 for a decade, you probably would have gotten some upsets. You probably would have gotten maybe a different champ a time or two. That doesn't invalidate the way I feel. It was never about whether the title would be the same. It was about how stupid it would feel to watch teams play big-time late-season games, number 4 versus number 7, and have the commentators sitting there in the fourth quarter as the clock winds down saying, well, it's not the end of the world for State U. They'll still be in the playoff. It's just a lower seed now. That is not college football, but I digress. It could be moving forward. And lastly, a lot of folks talking about Oregon in the Big Ten, and certainly Michigan and Ohio State. Will USC make any noise? What's Penn State going to be? Nebraska, it's really exciting. What if Wisconsin makes the big year 2 jump up there under Luke Fickell? I was very disappointed in them offensively last year. They brought in Phil Longo. They brought in a number of transfers like Tanner Mordecai at quarterback. It just never really gelled into anything that was formidable. So now they brought in Tyler Van Dyke via the transfer portal from Miami. If he can be healthy and much more consistent than he was last year, it's a better team. Not to mention just the normal year 1 to year 2 progression. Does this happen, first off? And then if it does it coincide with any other of the traditional Tier 3 programs and teams in the Big Ten making a jump? Because I think Tier 2 is very shallow in the Big Ten. It's Penn State, basically. You got Oregon, you got Michigan, Ohio State, and then there's Penn State, but there's not a robust Tier 2. You go down quickly in caliber of team. And it's been that way long before Oregon and USC and UCLA and Washington made the move. It's kind of felt that way. Well, I have believed that the key to better competitive balance there is your Wisconsins of the world, your Nebraskas of the world, your Michigan States of the world. They got to invest, they got to hire, and both of those they've done. And then they've got to elevate to at least Tier 2 status. I wonder if that would happen. If Wisconsin is that much better this year, they got a shot against Bama week 3. Do they then take that bye week and go out to LA in week 4 and serve one up to USC? They've got Penn State. They've got Oregon at home as well. They go to Nebraska. So they got a shot. If Wisconsin's improved this year, maybe they themselves don't do anything overly special in the postseason. Maybe they ruin someone else's shot.